Hello and welcome to Behind the Story with Business Today. We are going to talk about a very interesting story today, which is on millets. Millets has a comeback as breakfast food and other food. What do you take for breakfast? Cornflakes, maybe oats. But what about ragi flakes, right? Sounds exotic. Well, it used to be quite popular earlier, but not so exotic now, you know. So, my colleague, Deputy Editor Chitra Narayanan, traveled to the south of India to do the story, and she met quite a few interesting companies and interesting people and found a lot of facts that are quite astounding. And a new kind of food revolution is happening in this country, and we'll just talk to Chitra to find out what it really is about. So, Chitra, maybe you can start with telling us what got you onto this story and what was the trip all about in South India and what did you find?
So Alokesh, I'd been looking at these retail shelves with interest, I mean all kinds of interesting products like multigrain dosa and with ragi in them, and these were catching my attention. There was like, if you look, there was bajra and sorghum and all these forgotten grains, they were back on the stores. So that got me thinking, and then I found that read up a bit and found that so much was happening on the millet front. So then I took a trip to Chennai, and it was like a revelation, because literally every store there was talking, millet adai, millet dosa, millet porridge, and then I met Professor Swaminathan, the father of the Green Revolution, who talked about how millets are, climate smart cereals, and how, we need to revive our ancient wisdom. In the olden days before 1956, India used to be quite a millet consuming country. If you look at our forefathers' diet, millet was very nutritionally it was a great product, and India used to be a staple in our kitchens, but it had kind of fallen off our plate, and here it was making a comeback. So I would say millets is the new oats. That's what I'm finding out, So in Chennai, I found that there was even a millets only restaurant, and people were actually flocking it. So it has this, everything that is there on a South Indian thali, the lemon rice, the curd rice, except that the rice is substituted with millets, and it's really tasty. So why people were not using millets earlier was that it's a little heavy to eat, and it's not tasty. It's a bit tough for urban consumers. Our taste buds are spoiled with the kind of food that processed maida and all. We kind of got spoiled, and millets were perceived as very heavy kind of food. But now, I think things have changed. Now, I mean, there was even ragi flakes, which is fascinating. Ragi with a bit of lentil and a chocolate in the center. So all kinds of interesting things producers are doing. In Chennai, I found that shops are stocking like bajra idli mix, things like that. There is instant porridge. So it's healthy, nutritious. Millets have like some 300 times more nutrition than rice. So there is, that is the reason. But more than that, it's climate smart. In the drought-like conditions which are sweeping through the world, millets are probably the crop that can withstand tough conditions. So that is an imperative from the agriculture side. From the consumer side, the imperative is a health and nutrition one. We are all kind of afflicted by lifestyle diseases, so we need a high fiber grain. So there's a lot going for millets.
How is it that only South India is doing this, or are there other parts of India also that's seeing the millet revolution, so to speak?
So South has intrinsically had a tradition of ragi, never dropped out as dramatically as millet did from the north. So it had been maintained in the rural households and all that. But it is the millets are coming back in the north as well. In Udaipur, there's a restaurant called Millets of Mewar, set up by 4 entrepreneurs, and that has put millets back into focus. And it's in like very short time after launching, it was the #1 restaurant in Udaipur on TripAdvisor. So you can see that millets are catching the fancy of consumers. And then imagine if an MNC like PepsiCo is introducing ragi in its Quaker oats, When I talked to Pepsi, they said it's the localization imperative. You know, they wanted to put in oats is after all not an indigenous. I mean, oats is really a power meal, but it's not local. So millets are local. So there's lots going for it.
Thanks, Chitra. That sounds really very interesting, and I'm sure you must have also had quite a bit of millet on the way there and the way back, and maybe in Chennai itself. Must have been quite exciting. So that's our story on millets. It's coming in the next issue of Business Today. Make sure you pick up a copy and read it. And why don't you introduce some millet into your diet as well? Think about it.